Normally the mic and open mic refers to Ducey, but today it refers to Mike Peasley of 103.3 ESPN Radio. We also fill our quota of Iowa boys for Sports Sunday. So, Mike, thank you so much for helping out that cause.
Thank you for the invitation. I know Mike Ducey, big Iowa guy. Same for myself.
There we go. So let's talk about the Mavericks first. They lose in overtime to Denver. Are you concerned this team doesn't have that killer instinct that we've seen in seasons past?
Oh, I think it's still there, but here recently it has been a struggle here and it started really the game before the All-Star break against Utah. They're ahead by 9 points going into the fourth quarter, lost that game. And then coming out after the All-Star break against Orlando, had a 14-point lead, could not close that game out. And then again here tonight, they're up by 9 points with about 8 minutes to go and unable to close those out. We get to middle part of April, you're going to be looking back at those 3 losses if they potentially end up with a 7 or an 8 seed as huge games that they weren't able to control. So they've got the killer instinct, but I think, Rick Carlisle's talked about it, and the players have, it comes down to execution.
Right.
They haven't been executing, and on that out-of-bounds play today with Chandler Parsons, all they got to do is get the ball in bounds. They make a free throw or two, game's over.
Right. A simple play, to say the least. Instead, it completely goes haywire. And what makes things more distressing is the schedule gets tougher from here.
It does. This was the soft part of their schedule, and now starting tomorrow against the Clippers, this team's going to be playing 9 straight games over these next 3 weeks against teams that are all above 500. So they didn't take full advantage of this soft schedule, and now they are sitting alone in 6th. That could change here in the next 3 weeks because the schedule gets very tough. 2 games against Portland, and of course a couple of games against the defending champion Golden State Warriors.
More about seeding and predictions in just a bit, but first let's bring up a positive about Chandler Parsons. Now, his evolution absolutely been remarkable. First 17 games he played, he only broke double-digit scoring 3 times, but in the last 9 contests, he's averaging close to 22 points a game. He's somehow making more shots per 100 possessions than he's ever had in one season. His true shooting percentage, which weights 3 points more, that's the best it's ever been. What's impressed you the most about Parsons?
Just his overall game, Edward. I mean, he's been able to hit the 3-point shot. I mean, tonight it being the exception. He didn't have a good shooting night tonight. I think he was 4 of 12 from the field, 11 points, 11 rebounds. But he's been able to attack the basket, and that has just kind of opened up the rest of his game. And his defense has been pretty good too. I mean, the Mavericks have been able to allow him to play a lot of minutes at the 4 position as they go a little bit smaller, and he really hasn't hurt them defensively. Now, can he continue to do this? The Mavericks are certainly hoping that he can to make the playoffs because you gave the numbers. He's just been terrific here the past 3 or 4 weeks, and really it goes back to the middle part of January, and you can tell that he's finally overcoming that awful surgery, that knee surgery, because his points per game have gone up every single month, and he's really playing at a high level.
Mavericks now 3 games above 500, tied with Portland in 6th place. If you had to predict their seed right now, where would Dallas land and who would they face in the first round?
It's so tough to say right now because of how poorly they played here these last 2 games that they should have won. I think these next 3 weeks are really going to tell a lot, and I just fear that they're going to end up 7th and having to play San Antonio. I like Portland and what they've been able to do. Mavericks, of course, have 2 big games with Portland coming up here during this stretch. But if you say right now, what seed do I think the Mavericks will get? I think they'll be the 7th seed and play San Antonio.
And San Antonio, as we were talking about before we came on the air, this might be the best San Antonio team that they've fielded under Greg Popovich. Even though the Warriors are just playing lights out right now, this Spurs team is incredibly scary.
And can the Spurs beat Golden State? I don't know if they can 4 out of 7 times, but if there's anybody that can, it would be San Antonio. They've got 3 more head-to-head matchups here with Golden State before the season's over, so 2 of those will be in San Antonio. Of course, San Antonio and Golden State, neither team have lost at home yet.
So let's move on to the Rangers now. Big pickup this week with Ian Desmond, kind of getting him on the cheap, as it were. He's playing left field, not shortstop, at least not yet anyway. 260 hitter, 20 homer, 75 RBI guy. How much of an impact can he really have?
Well, what have the Rangers needed? What's been lacking from their offense last year? It was a right-handed hitter. Ian Desmond, he can hit from the right side. And, he had a bad first half last year for the Washington Nationals. There's no debating that. Much better in the second half. If they can kind of get the second half Ian Desmond here this year, which you would anticipate a motivated Ian Desmond, can he be a 20 home run, 75 RBI guy? I think he can. And if he is, all of a sudden you give that lineup a lot more balance to put in there with the likes of the Prince Fielder, the Mitch Moreland, the Shin-Soo Choo, Rougned Odor. This team needs a right-handed bat in this lineup. We'll wait and see how well he can play left field. I mean, that's obviously a big question mark too. But I'm anxious to see what he can do. If he can, putting him in there in that number 5-6 hole to split up the left-handed hitters just gives Jeff Bannister a lot more balance to work with.
A lot of fun kind of juggling that depending on the matchups. Now, Rangers are off to a strong start in spring training. They play in a competitive division with the Stros, Halos, and M's. There the expectation out there that if you win the division and you get better with your pitching, that all of a sudden you're going to win it again. May not be the most realistic thing, but where do you see the Rangers falling into this?
I think they're going to be right there. I think this team, with the bullpen that they have, and with Yu Darvish, hopefully, all signs are positive so far coming back from Tommy John surgery. You put Yu Darvish, Cole Hamels together with a Martin Perez and a Derek Holland. That's a pretty good first four, and they don't have to go very deep into games. You'd like them to go 7 innings, but if the Rangers have a lead after 6 innings this year with the bullpen that they have, they're going to win a lot of games. So I'm optimistic about the Rangers' chances, and I'm really excited about Martin Perez. I think he's going to have a big year.
And it also seems like worst case scenario, even if they don't win the division because Houston gets in there or whatever, the wild card still looks very good given the rest of the league.
Yes, and there's not a dominant team in the American League. I think Kansas City, I think they may have taken a step back. Boston, we'll see, with the additions that they have of Kimbrel and David Price. But I still wonder who's going to play left field for them. I don't think there's a super team in the American League. So, yeah, the wild card is certainly there with 2 wild card spots. I think the Rangers should be playing baseball in October.
Mike Peasley of 103.3 ESPN Radio, Mavs pre- and post-game, Rangers pre- and post-game, staying busy this time of year. Thanks so much for dropping by.
Appreciate the invitation. Nice talking with you, Edward. Thanks.